All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Fouraker. I'm a speech language pathologist at the Brooks Rehabilitation Center in Jacksonville, Florida. And I just wanted to share a really fun and exciting life participation group that we've started there. We've been doing it for a couple years now, and it's been a lot of fun. So here at our Aphasia Center, our favorite groups are the ones where our members' ideas come to life. So this group was originally brought to our attention by one of our members, as you can see on the right. He showed us a picture of Ron Burgundy one day, and he said, "News." And we're like, yeah, he does the news. He goes, "No, I want to do the news." And we were just like, that's a great idea. Why not? So we collaborated with him and a couple of our other members, and BRAC News came to life. So benefits of creating this film group, it gave people a communication challenge. We used ideas from project-based intervention and life participation approach to kind of create the background for this group. It was a great way for communicating directions, working through communication breakdowns that you don't always get in a typical conversation group. Also gave some of our members more leadership roles and functional tasks. They felt like they were doing something, they were part of something. It gave them some purpose. We also had a final project each time that members watched all together in our big community room, and we also made it so they could share it with their friends and family and take it home. It gave some increased functionality. So we had some real life situations working through communication breakdowns versus just impairment-based therapeutic tasks. It was really nice to work in that way with them. It was really meaningful to us. As you're going to see, we did topics and things that were important to us and to the members. They got to choose, and it gave them a sense of accomplishment, being able to share their thoughts and ideas on topics that were important to them. And we all know a lot of times our friends with aphasia, when it comes to more complex topics, they're not always talked to about them, or their ideas and opinions aren't necessarily considered in a conversation. So this gave them a chance to give that. It changes them from just being a patient or a member to the expert. I don't always know the topics they want to talk about, and they get to educate me and other people on those. So our timeline, it's around 6 weeks for each group. We do it one time per week for an hour at a time. The first 2 weeks, we'll choose our topics, we'll research, and we'll write those scripts. The third week, we'll practice, and usually it takes a couple weeks for filming and editing. And then week 6, we'll usually show our final product. So our preparation, so typically members will choose their own topic for discussion. We've had everything from sports, fashion, news, biographies, aphasia advocacy, whatever they're interested in, we make it happen. They will collaborate during the group with each other. We'll usually get into teams, kind of like a newsroom almost, and they'll collaborate with each other using their iPads, phones, etc. Whatever they need in order to create their script. So they'll write their script, they'll turn them into me or the SLP who's running the group. We'll create cue cards. We don't have a teleprompter, but that's our version. We try to make them aphasia friendly. So as you can see on the right, we try to use that bold text, pictures, short sentences, whatever works for them, depending on their level. We also use different evidence-based practices within this group. So script training, ARCs, response elaboration training to create those scripts, and then they'll practice until they're ready to film. So filming typically takes about 2 sessions. We'll use an iPad, but if you have a camera and you're really good with editing on your computer, that is all for you. We'll typically use iMovie because that's what I'm the best at. Typically, the speaker will sit in front of the camera and film their take. For our non-fluents who want to be seen as speaking the whole thing, we'll break the script into shorter segments and we'll edit it together into one. That was a big thing when we first started the group. A lot of our non-fluent people with aphasia were concerned they wouldn't be able to, but once they saw how it was created, we had a lot more people joining in. So after every person's filmed separately, we'll edit it into one video. And as you can see, it's a really great opportunity for our members to coach others. So in that picture over there, one of our members was having a difficult time getting out some words. And so one of our members walked over there and said, "Let me help you." And they coached through it together and got it. And it's just, as a therapist, it's my favorite thing to see is our friends with aphasia helping each other collaborate. and it's just always a great time. Our people with aphasia, some are not comfortable in front of the camera, and that's just them, their personality, and that's fine. We always say you can contribute in other ways. So we'll have someone be the camera person. We've had a director, so they'll hold the cue cards and direct, action, cut, give them some direction on how to make their speaking better. Another coach will help the speaker to read and speak clearly. I also will have someone assist me with editing the news video if I need help. And then also for some of our people, they just want to be in the audience and give moral support. They're so excited for their friends and they just want to cheer them on. And I think that's great. So I have a couple clips. I don't know that I have time for all my clips, but I'm going to play one. And this is one of our guys, and he wanted to talk about his favorite football team. So here we go.
And I'm talking about football. This year, the 49ers is going to win the Super Bowl. This is why. One, George Kittle is a beast. He plays tight end. Number two, their record is 13-3. Three, Super Bowl will be played by the 49ers and the Chiefs. Four, again, my predictions are the San Francisco is going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm not biased. San Francisco Jaguars, yay, San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl, yay.
So that's our guy. He's wonderful. He's one of our regular participants, and usually it is sports related, and he's not biased. So here are some of my references. And then just a little bit about Brooks. I know I don't have time to go through it, but we offer community groups and an intensive program, and we love where we work and what we do and our family. And thank you. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions? I see a lot of great comments coming through, trying to keep up with all of them.
Yeah, I will say it's definitely it's something that takes time, but it's great that it takes time because you guys get to work together, and we've done probably like 10 episodes at this point, and even now they're still like, when are we going to start? When are we going to do a new one? It's a lot of fun. And I see one question. You are able to share their clips. We have a private closed Facebook group, and all of our members have signed releases. So we will post it to there, and from there they can access it.
Terrific. Anyone else want to jump in? How many members?
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah. What are your advice or challenges in really working to have each of the members and clients creating their own material and support systems? So that
Yeah, that's a great question. So usually, typically within the group, we will team people up. I will typically team someone up who's a little bit stronger in their language skills with someone who might need more help. That way they can collaborate with them and help them. That usually works best. And then we always have some grad students and an SLP in there. So if there's something that they really need some extra help with, we walk in and we help and we cue appropriately. But I will say, doing the group, most of the time, if we pair the person with aphasia with like appropriate, like someone stronger with maybe someone who needs more help, I usually don't have to jump in much.
Kayla, there's a couple of other questions. I love this, Kayla. I'm wondering how many sessions per week you do this when you say it takes 6 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. So we do one time per week. We have our conversation groups, and it's like a topic that they can choose. So it's an hour long, and we'll usually do it for one time a week. We do have 2 tracks. So technically we do it twice a week, but those people would only see it once a week. So around 6 hours.
And how many members are there total?
So it always just depends on who chooses the group. At our Aphasia Center, we don't have like particularly like schedules and people registered. So I've had anywhere from 8, and I've had maybe 4.
Gotcha. Terrific. Well, we're going to keep things moving along.
Awesome.
I know other questions will come in, and you're welcome to check out the chat and
Yeah,
those. So thank you so much, Kayla.
of course. Thank you.
And we are going to kick off our next one. Don't stop the music.
Hello, thank you. I'll go ahead and jump in, share my screen. I'm Madison. Let's see. Okay. Everyone can see my screen okay?
Looking great.
Great. So my name's Madison Fox. I'm an inpatient speech therapist at Stanford Healthcare, and I run the music club at the Aphasia Center of California in collaboration with Roberta Elman. And today I'm going to be talking about a virtual music club that we started as a way of connecting meaningfully with our members during this time of COVID. So I'd like to start off with a little fact that I learned in music club. Many of us know Bob Dylan to be a musician, a lyricist, a poet, but did you know that he also won the Nobel Prize for literature? Yes, surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, he won it for creating a new poetic lyric tradition in American folk music. And this year, I'm sure all of us can relate to the fact that we have been creating new traditions together with moving all of our groups online. And for us, staying emotionally and meaningfully connected to our members during this time was really important. So I wanted to bring music to the table because that's a passion of mine. And along the way, I've really found that it's a great source of storytelling and connection. Oops. So originally, with my background being in aphasia choirs, I thought, okay, people with aphasia, we should be singing. And on day one, we tried some sing-alongs, and I was met with a meh kind of reaction. They really just wanted to talk about music. This is a group of people who love music. They love listening to music, learning about music, and that was where their heart was. So instead, we formed what's now called the Music Club. And they really have shown me that by listening to music together, they're sharing the story of their lives with me. We also know that there are some benefits to listening to music. It can be a source of relaxation and enhanced mood. It can elicit memories, specifically autobiographical memories. So, you know, we all have memories of the first song we might have danced to with someone, or John Denver will always, Sunshine on My Shoulder will always be the song that I sang to my newborn son, driving him home from the hospital. Music is embedded in our memories. And so as we listen to music in music group, a lot of memories come up, and therefore a lot of storytelling comes up. So it's a language activity as well. Along the way, there were some virtual hiccups that we had to deal with, you know, just building skill sets with working on Zoom. But we found that really leaning into screen sharing, Google search and YouTube search toolbars to on the spot pull up videos has been a great tool. And it helps to have Roberta as our tech support during calls if someone needs extra help. So thank you, Roberta, for all you've done with that. But the other thing that being online has allowed us to do is when something spontaneously comes up in conversation, we're able to just go there. So for example, we were talking about Woodstock, and one of the members was telling us about how he went to the Altamont concert in the Bay Area. And so we went online and we were finding videos of newscasters talking about the event and just really embedding ourselves in that moment. And he was able to share it with us. It's also been very helpful to learn how to scaffold them in advance. So we found that if we provide too much information about what we would be talking about or what songs we would specifically be listening to, then the session was kind of underwhelming because they already knew the songs and they'd already listened to them through the links that I had sent out. But at the same time, if I didn't share enough information, then when I would pull out, you know, trivia or asking them about who, you know, the artists that we were talking about, they might not have enough support to be able to participate in that conversation. So we've found a balance with weekly emails where we send out a little bit of information about what to expect, some possible questions that we might discuss, and links to some videos just to kind of get them going in that direction of the content. And the other thing that has been a learning experience for me has just been the process of avoiding becoming a request line. So if in the session, you know, it's just play this song or I love this song, it's really easy to please one person and lose the rest of the group that way. And so I don't really, with one exception I'll show you in a moment, I don't really do a lot of on the spot, just purely requests. We try to stick to a topic for the day. So the format is 2 groups with about 5 to 7 members each. We meet for an hour and 15 minutes once a week, and it's on Zoom. And the scaffolding that I spoke to is this sort of email that you see on the right, where it's aphasia friendly, and Roberta helps me kind of organize the content. We send out questions that we might bring up, and then links to some videos that they can listen to kind of get the juices flowing before we start. So this week was for Valentine's Day, and we focused on love songs. And the flow of the session is very informal, very member-led, but generally speaking, there's elements of learning about the topic, learning about the artist, listening to some examples, and then a lot of sharing and discussing or suggesting songs that fit within that category. A lot of storytelling that tends to come up. So if you're thinking about starting a music club, I'm guessing maybe some of you already have music related activities. So I would love to share just a little bit that I've learned with content selection. I think generally we tend to want to stick to decades and genres. So rock and roll music, folk music, jazz music, or music from the 1950s. But we can also expand that. We've found it really fun to move into themes like hip hop culture, or songs from summertime, or romantic songs that I dedicate to someone I love. And so we kind of will stick to a theme, and that tends to bring up a lot of discussion. And then also historical events as a source for music inspiration. So Woodstock, for example, or the death of Selena was a great topic. We did the day the music died for the plane crash with Buddy Holly and Frankie Valles and the Big Bopper. So historical events can be great. And then also we have adopted this fun practice, which is creating playlists together. So we pick a topic, like one into January 2021, we did, what do you want 2021 to feel like? Pick a song to share that feeling. And so we got some great songs for our playlist, What the World Needs Now, Give Peace a Chance. Just last week, we did What Songs Motivate You or Make You Feel Powerful. And I got a whole list of playlist songs that these are the songs that make me feel powerful. So we put the playlists together, and we'll email them out so that they can listen to them again or share them on our Facebook page as a recommendation from the music club. And I think to summarize, I would just say, if you are starting a music club, music kind of sets the table for the content, for the discussions that are going to come out of it. And rather than focusing purely on the music, I found it to be really lucrative when we let the memories and the storytelling come out of the songs. And keeping it fresh is really important. So don't be afraid to bring in songs or artists or styles that might not have been on the initial survey that you sent out to find out what they like, because I'm told constantly that they want to learn something new. Yo-Yo Ma and Opera Week were 2 really big hits, and they were not on the initial surveys that we sent out. And then changing it up. So always trying to keep it new and bring in something that you haven't done before. If not, I've found that, doing rock and roll too many weeks in a row, you might end up with a little bit of a coup on your hands. So try to keep it fresh, and that tends to keep the flow going. And then here are my references, and I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Terrific. Thank you, Madison. There's a question out there that I think you may have already addressed. Do you ever group members by genre, or is it whoever is in the group and their preferences? So I think you.
So we initially had a survey just to get a sense of who these people like to listen to, what they're familiar with. And then periodically, every 4 to 6 weeks, I'll check in with them and say, hey, how are we doing? What are some styles we haven't talked about that you really want to listen to? But in general, I will pick a genre, a topic, a theme, a historical event, and then we'll pull music that fits within that topic for the week.
Excellent. From Abby Simon, do you have a music therapist?
That would be amazing. We don't for this group. My background is in vocal performance and music. So, I have a love of music, but I don't have any musical therapy background. And I think this group would only be supplemented and enhanced by collaborating with a music therapist, for sure.
Terrific. Do you do any sing-alongs with the songs, or do you just listen?
So we've had a couple moments where sing-alongs spontaneously happen, and as a singer myself, I fully support those moments. But I found that when I put them on the spot to do a sing-along, this group in particular is not a group of people who really like to sing. And that's okay. That's kind of the reason why we went in the direction of music club, because not all people with aphasia want to be part of choirs.
Gotcha. From Jamie Lee, in the 75 minutes, about how much time is dedicated to listening to the music versus discussion, excuse me.
I'd be interested to monitor myself and check that out. I think it's a really good question. My initial impression would be that it's probably 50-50, 60-40, an even split, maybe a little bit more heavily on the discussion part, because I also do a little bit of talking or teaching about, facts about the artist, or, pulling them into trivia about the topic. So a little bit more discussion maybe than listening, but pretty close. We do a heavy amount of listening.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Madison. We're going to move on to our next group, the Power of Chit-Chat.
There, I'm just having a little trouble with my camera. Give me 1 second. Ah, there we go. All right, well, thank you. My name is Kosch. I'm a speech pathologist. I'm also the clinical program manager with Lingraphica, and I help manage virtual connections. And I'm here with Carol Dow-Richards. Do you want to give a quick introduction?
I'm Carol, and I'm with ARC, Aphasia Recovery Connection, and my son is a stroke survivor. And Virtual Connections is a collaborative program where we bring together through Lingraphica and ARC and the stakeholders. So go ahead, Bree.
So today we're going to be talking about one of the virtual groups we run through Virtual Connections called Open Chats. So I'm going to start off just by telling you guys a little bit about Virtual Connections. Carol's going to then talk about Open Chats, and she is the one who mainly runs them. And then you will hear from some of our members tell you what they get out of these open chat sessions. So Virtual Connections, we launched this at the start of COVID. We realized that there were many people with aphasia who were even more isolated than they were before. And it kind of blew up into this worldwide support program. So we offer 3 to 4 free Zoom sessions a day for families living with aphasia. As Carol said, this is a Lingraphica and Aphasia Recovery Connection collaboration. We have over 60 volunteers who help facilitate these support sessions. And they're 7 days a week. So even right now, behind the scenes, I'm making sure sessions are running smoothly. And as I said, this was a response to COVID. Our main goals were to build a community, end the isolation, create a safe place, provide engagement, encourage LPA, and also promote acceptance among our members. And sorry, I just want to come back here. So as of last week, we have over 2,000 members in over 45 different countries across the world who have registered or come to these support groups. This is just a snapshot of a week. We offer lots of variety. We do music groups. We do questions with Dr. Holland, as you can see there. We have groups specific for groups. So we have some for people living with TBI, PPA, caregivers of PPA. We collaborate with Stroke Onward, and they do a session all around rebuilding identity. And then we just do a lot of fun, different activities like seated yoga. But now I'm going to pass it off to Carol, and she is going to tell you about our open chats, which are one of our members' favorite sessions.
Hi, I'm Carol, and Open Chats is phenomenal, and I'm so glad that you're here to learn more about it. So this offers a safe place for people with aphasia to connect and practice their conversational skills with others from around the world. But it's not just practicing conversation, it's also practicing strategies. So we have people that might use a device or their phone, or people that will share pictures, or using strategies like writing things down. So we have people from all levels that attend open chats. Every week, 80 to 100 people register, and you're probably thinking, how do you have 80 to 100 people with aphasia? It's amazing. We go through the guidelines and then I put them into breakout rooms and they actually love it. It's people with aphasia practicing talking with people with aphasia. So here's the question that I have for you today. Do you know people with aphasia who could benefit from practicing with new people? And what is the benefit of people with aphasia talking to other people with aphasia? Well, who better to answer that question than real people with real aphasia? Let's hear what they have to say.
Who would like to share? What does open chat mean to you?
Talking friends, speech friends, everything, friends.
How many of you feel it's good for your spirit to be with other people?
Yes, yes.
Yes. I like open chat when we share our experiences and we inspire each other.
I like talking and chatting.
Do you think that it's helped your mood or your speech or both?
Both.
Okay.
Yes.
I like open chat. It was safe environment. I put live.
Okay, so it's a safe environment.
Yes.
That makes you feel alive.
I have trouble communication with words. I cannot anything else.
So communicating with words, Jenny, is very hard for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And have you found that being on open chat, people have been pretty accepting and patient with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing I like is that it's one of the few places I don't have to explain to people that I'm word searching.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here gets it.
I would say this has been good for me because I didn't know there was people out there that have aphasia. So for me, I just basically just did my own stuff and just went on with life. But I never was able to talk to people who have it because I didn't know there was people out there.
When I do this, everybody was happy and all that. And hours ago, maybe I was not good. But when I get with y'all, it's better.
So if we listen to some of the keywords that people with aphasia just shared, words like friends, inspiring one another, it helped my mood, my well-being. As the mother of a stroke survivor myself, I can't tell you how important the psychological well-being of a person with aphasia really is. Connection really does matter. And I just want to, before we go to questions, I just want to repeat what Walter said at the end. He said, hours ago, it wasn't good. But when I get with y'all, it's better. And isn't that what we all want for people with aphasia? Because connection, it really, truly matters. So with that, we'll go ahead and take some questions if you'd like to learn more about open chat. I'll also type the link. So if you want to have any of your patients join us, or maybe some of you want to do open chat kind of things with your own groups, and I'm happy to share the slides and the guidelines that we use. We're happy to have you steal it as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. One question was partially answered, but I'm going to throw it back to you as well. Are each of the breakout rooms facilitated by someone, either a person with aphasia or a volunteer, an SLP, or is it just open each week?
Actually, it is open and people with aphasia actually love it. What one of them said is it's nice that we don't have to feel that we're babysat. They like being able to talk like normal people, talking with normal people and utilizing their own strategies. Now, I will admit that sometimes if I know there's somebody new, or if I know there's somebody who's nonverbal or PPA, I may jump into a room to make sure that they're supported. But honestly, this is the most supportive group of people to one another. I guarantee you, if there were other caregivers and volunteers in there, other people would be jumping in. This puts them, they're on their own and it's magical. And we are going to be expanding. They have asked that we start to have a men's open chat, a women's open chat. So right now we only do one a week. It's every Sunday, but I'm going to be expanding that. And all of Virtual Connections is expanding, but open chat will be expanding as well. But they're on their own. They're adults.
Mm-hmm. Related question, do you have themes each week or no?
It varies from week to week. In general, they like to just talk about, you know, the weather or when was your stroke, because some people really are prepared with, you know, where are you from or whatnot. So a lot of times they do start with some of the simple things. But if there is a topic in the news, like lately, they've really enjoyed talking about the COVID vaccine. So they may talk about, did you get your vaccine? Are you getting it? What are you doing? So yes, sometimes we will bring up a topic, but it's not required. They can go off the rails. We only have 2 rules, no politics and no religion.
Gotcha. There are a number of great questions in the chat, but we got to move along. Sorry. So we'll
All right.
Access
I'm
to
going
those.
to put the link. I will put the link in so everybody can grab it.
Terrific. Thank you so much. And we're looking for our next group. Sorry, I got to just cue it here. Reading partners in the time of COVID. So join us now. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Truong. I am a graduate student at Cal State East Bay, and today I'm going to discuss the implementation of Online Reading Partners, a new program that connects undergraduate student volunteers and individuals with aphasia. So this begins with Cal State East Bay's aphasia treatment program and on-campus life participation group treatment for individuals with aphasia. In addition to graduate clinician training, ATP has a long history of providing firsthand experience to undergraduate students as volunteer conversation partners. When we transitioned the communication groups online due to COVID-19, their weekly contact hours decreased significantly, impacting a group that is often already isolated. There also wasn't a practical role for our undergraduate volunteers. So to address these issues, we created Online Reading Partners. The purpose of the program is to, 1, provide meaningful online volunteer opportunities for undergraduate SLP students, 2, increase ATP members' access to conversation and social interaction, and 3, support participation in book club by providing supported reading time. Online Reading Partners is an opportunity for ATP members to gain additional reading support from an undergraduate volunteer. Each pair met via Zoom to read together for 30 minutes, 1 or 2 times per week to review the book club material for the week. Each ATP member decided if they wanted their partner to read the material or if they wanted to practice taking turns. The weekly schedule and the reading roles were a joint decision. This is not speech therapy, but instead looked more like a live audible book or so an opportunity for social interaction or member-led reading practice. A mandatory 2-hour online training orientation for students was led by a graduate clinician via Zoom. Training topics included aphasia education, communication partner strategies, video demos of reading strategies, and basic demonstration of Zoom features for online sessions. Each volunteer demonstrated their oral reading skill competency before being approved to start meeting with their partner. In addition to the orientation, students completed the university volunteer requirements. Typically, volunteers use the current book club selection. Students tracked what they read, how often, and any anecdotal notes on their reading log, which was reviewed weekly by the graduate student coordinator. If any questions came up on the log, the coordinator checked in with the student volunteer. During the fall semester, we had a total of 10 undergraduate SLP majors that participated for 8 to 9 weeks. 7 out of the 10 pairs met 1 to 2 times per week. Now, let me share some of the feedback from an anonymous volunteer survey completed by some of our student partners. While we initially thought that the volunteers would primarily function as readers, we found that most of the members wanted to take turns and practice their oral reading. Most volunteers participated in conversations related to the book, with more than half reporting that they had conversations related to everyday life. This table indicates knowledge and confidence skills self-rated by the student volunteers before and after the online training. We were pleased that the students reported that their general knowledge of aphasia and confidence with interacting with a partner who has aphasia increased after 1 session orientation. Students judged that their role in the program was highly valuable to the ATP member, and all students agreed that it was a valuable student learning experience. And all students reported that they would recommend this program to other students. Some of the themes that were noted in their open-ended responses to questions about how they benefited from the program included patience, experience in the field, and awareness of recovery as an ongoing process. A student shared, "I was able to experience what aphasia looks like in real life and have a better understanding of the disorder than before this experience when I only had textbook knowledge of aphasia." Now, looking at what the members told us about their experience, there was strongly positive feedback across the board. From a multiple choice set of options, members were asked to select what they liked best about the program, and this table shows the responses ranked in order of most frequently selected. All members liked the opportunity to practice reading aloud, but both reading performance and social connection appear to be important benefits. Overall, this program has shown to be successful for both members and the students. We expected that most of our members to listen to the readers, but to our surprise, most of them chose to practice their reading skills. This provided a social connection during a time of isolation for both students and individuals with aphasia. We found that this program is sustainable from a training and administrative workload and may be a potential model to continue after COVID. We are currently running our 2nd semester of the program with 8 pairs for 10 weeks and made some changes this semester. Some books bring up sensitive topics, and we incorporated addressing adult themes into the orientation training. We also increased feedback to students via email or group meetings, and we're also considering what other measures could help us track student outcomes, perhaps like the Ask survey. That concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Terrific. A lot of really positive comments out there. Just kind of looking to see if there are any questions bubbling up as well. So much love coming through. I may have missed it. How did you choose the books?
So the book was selected based on what they were doing in book club.
Excellent. Were the people with aphasia encouraged to read in tandem? I think read with the students in choral or tandem.
Oh, some of the members did. Some of the members did, but they were given the option of listening to the volunteer or practice reading themselves.
Nice. Terrific. Did many of the people with aphasia who had impaired oral reading choose to read aloud independently?
Yeah, a lot of them did actually. to our surprise, we expected that most of them wanted to listen, but they chose to practice, which is awesome.
Terrific. How long was each session or interaction?
30 minutes for 1 to 2 weeks.
Terrific. Got time for 1 or 2 more questions if anyone has one. Either jump in or here's one. Could you see the grad students getting clinical hours with this model? So that might be a question for Ellen too. Do grad students get credits for the kind of supervision kind of?
So we wouldn't give clinical hours unless it was directly supervised. And then if so, we'd be setting treatment goals and make it a more therapeutic experience. This was really practice, self-supported practice. So.
Terrific, thank you, Ellen. Well, that was terrific. Thank you so much. We are going to move on to our next talk, which is making art gallery tours more accessible to individuals with aphasia. Take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Oops, let's go back to the beginning. My name is Brent Archer, and I'll be talking today about a little project that we put together with an art museum in Toledo here. So this really is a group effort I'm presenting, but as you can see, there are a number of people involved: Michaela Morgan and Jackie Zykovitz-Davis, my co-author, who is joining us here today, Karen Brackenberry, and myself. So let's dive right in. A little bit about the Toledo Museum of Art. Obviously, it's located in Toledo. It was founded in 1901. The background image here is a medieval cloister that they acquired from France and reconstructed in the middle of the museum. And you can see that's a picture of the outside of the museum. It has 30,000 objects, so it really is a world-class museum. The nicest thing about it is that it is totally 100% free and will be free for the rest of time because the person who gave the money to start the museum, that was part of the her endowment. And as part of its programming, the museum has gallery tours provided by docents, volunteer docents. And the way the tour works is they go around to 3 or 4 works of art that are connected by a theme. It's not a lecture, it's a discussion, right? So the docent will facilitate a conversation around these works of art, the social location of the art, the artist, the techniques, they're all connected by a theme. And so for this project, Jackie wanted to, Jackie is the founder of 2 aphasia groups in the area, in Bowling Green and Toledo, and she approached me. She knows we work together at BG, and she was interested in making these kinds of recreational activities more accessible to people with aphasia in the community. And so we thought, well, let's try and work with the TMA to make these gallery groups more accessible. And so we want to give you 4 big ideas that we think would be valuable to you if you want to carry out a similar project wherever you are. And the first is that teamwork makes the dream work, right? We put together a team consisting of myself and Jackie, a clinical instructor at Bowling Green, a thesis student who did most of the legwork, and this became her master's thesis, as well as the manager of curriculum at the museum, who helped us get started, who gave us a lot of valuable resources. And then the person not mentioned here, who I want to give a shout out to, is Jen Brello at Ohio State University in Columbus, who gave us a lot of guidance and advice because she's had similar kinds of projects making recreational spaces more accessible in Columbus. The second idea that we want to leave you with is educate, educate, educate. So here is, you can see in the visual, this is Jackie during the workshop that we put together for the docents. And the workshop focused on what is aphasia, right? So Jackie talked about her personal experiences with aphasia and being an activist in the area. And we also focused on supported conversation for aphasia. We thought this would be an ideal framework because it's designed to facilitate conversations, and these tours are about interacting with the docent and talking about the various works of art. And then we talked also about some communication repair strategies. So 14 docents attended our workshop. We got feedback afterwards. And as will not surprise most of you, many people didn't know about aphasia, but they thought it was a really powerful experience to be able to talk to Jackie and to learn from her about her experiences, as well as to get some useful information about interacting with people with aphasia. The third idea is we tried to build communication ramps in these tours. So one volunteer, one docent agreed to host aphasia-friendly gallery groups. And so there were a number of them that were offered over a course of months. And the docent was asked to adapt and implement SCA strategies for use during tours. And so some of the things that we noticed her doing a lot was using reduced rate, repeating information, using simple sentences, using closed-ended sentences, all the kinds of techniques, tried and tested techniques that have come to us from the good people at the Aphasia Institute. And the museum library provided some interesting, unique supports that wouldn't be useful necessarily in other contexts, but were very useful here. Things like paintbrushes, popsicle sticks, an etching tool, all relevant to the particular art that they were talking about on that day. So you can see there are some examples over there. And then the fourth big idea, and this was Kate, the museum curriculum manager, who insisted upon this, and to the better, I think. We gathered outcome data because we want to know that what we are doing is working. So we did the knowledge of aphasia test with the docents before and after, and unsurprisingly, the knowledge increased dramatically. We did post-workshop surveys with the people with aphasia who attended the groups. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. They focused on the #1 strategy that they thought helped make the gallery groups more accessible, and that was just slowing down when talking, which was very interesting. And so we have all of this data available, and we'll be doing some more stuff with it in the future. What would we do differently next time? Maybe offer more tours at different times and expand the program to more docents. We did have some logistical issues along the way. Sometimes it was difficult to get to the museum. And of course, the program was going to continue after my involvement and the graduate students' involvement had left. It kind of took on a life of its own, and I believe they're going to go back to offering the tours. They had to stop in January because of COVID, but it's always gratifying to see these kinds of programs have a life beyond my interest. I think that's really what we should be aiming for, where the people with aphasia are driving and deciding what the project is going to look like. We would like to provide more feedback for docents, and maybe in the future do a couple of more formal pre and post measures. These are all based on how well people use supported conversation for aphasia. If we're going to be doing these kinds of activities, which we think are valuable and take place in the real world and help to generalize skills outside of the clinic, then I think it makes sense for us to gather data on that to see whether or not our intuitions are actually backed up by reality. And then, of course, the last thing to be said here is we are interested in having partnerships in other locations. So if you have an art museum or a public space or some kind of recreational activity where you live, we would love to hear from you, and perhaps we can work together productively on that. All right, and that's my email. So I think that's all I have time for now. And so, yeah, there we are.
Terrific. Thank you, Brent. And thank you, Jackie. Maybe I'll start by giving Jackie a minute to say any words she wants to share. Jackie, your mute is on.
Jackie, I think you're muted.
You should be getting a prompt, Jackie.
Perfect. There, okay.
There we go. Great, I can hear you.
Thank you. Was very good summer, and the doses was very good and teaching and listening and very the art or the painting was very, very good, and we saw many people and types of art.
Oh, that's terrific. Terrific. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank
We
you.
have a couple of questions here. I'm just going to scroll back up to them. Which outcome measures seem to best capture what you saw and heard as a clinician, and what measures were maybe missing?
So I think the best measure we had was observations of the docents over time, right? And I think, Jackie, it was certainly my experience, and I don't know if you feel the same way, that
Yes.
the docent consistently used these strategies. So that gave us a read over time what was happening in the real world. We observed the docent at every single tour. And then I think what was missing was like the measure of communication support, that instrument that comes out of the Aphasia Institute, where you look at how consistently somebody actually uses these measures. So that could look at the same issue from a different perspective and give us a number. So we might try to do that. I mean, you know, we didn't want to make it too clinical the first time around, because the focus is not on me doing research. The focus is on making the space accessible to people with aphasia and meeting their needs for recreation. So yeah, that's why our focus was not really on that too much, but next time around.
Terrific. I have one more question for you we have time for. Have you thought about creating an online aphasia-friendly tour with a docent from the museum?
Okay. Dr. Archer,
Well, I mean, that's definitely something we could think about if there is interest in the group. That's you know, we are going back to more you know, normal, quote unquote.
Yes.
But yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I know that the group, Daisy group, has continued to meet online the whole time, right, Jackie?
Yes.
Right.
And
yeah,
very good programs.
Seems like it. Thank you two so much. We're going to keep moving on, but just terrific. And I know there might be some other questions in the chat. We're going to move on to, we've got two left. Oh my gosh. Aphasia-friendly readings are next.
Hello, my name is Erin O'Brien, and I'm an assistant professor at Wichita State University in Kansas. Today, I'm going to be telling you about aphasia-friendly readings, which is a therapy project that was developed by the husband of one of the members of our university aphasia group. His name is Harold Bregeer. He developed this therapy approach after his wife, Rosie, had a stroke. Harold noticed that Rosie's best speech occurred during responsive readings at church. So he then developed a therapy approach involving responsive readings about shared memories and topics of mutual interest. So he calls them aphasia-friendly readings. So first, I'm going to show you one of Harold and Rosie's readings, and then I'm going to tell you about a treatment project in which we helped the second couple develop their own aphasia-friendly reading and learn it. The students in this photo, Addison Powell, Daphne Keys, and Brianne Recker, assisted with developing the couple's script and administered pre and post tests. This slide shows a small part of Harold and Rosie's aphasia-friendly readings. The script shows which lines Harold reads and which lines Rosie reads. Harold and Rosie read this story about Jill Bolte Taylor to the children at their church to teach them about aphasia. Carolyn is Rosie's friend from Aphasia Group. After brainstorming with student clinicians, Carolyn and her husband decided that they wanted to tell the story of their second Caribbean cruise. This slide shows part of their script. So next I'm going to show you a video. So first you will see Rosie doing the WAB-R picture description, and then you will see Rosie and Harold reading their story together. Then you'll see Carolyn doing the WAB-R picture description, followed by Carolyn and Dennis reading their story together. And then finally, Carolyn's husband talks about what they got out of doing the aphasia-friendly readings together. I'll have you tell me what's happening.
Well, the house with the window and car, and driving and car, and barn and boy and girl, and a picnic, and sandals, 70 a year.
This is the story of Dr. Jill Taylor.
She is brain scientist.
She studies how our brains work.
One day, Jill had a stroke.
She was just 37 years old.
It was a hard stroke.
She could not walk.
She did not talk.
She could not read.
She could not write.
She could not remember many things.
She could not say the right things, right words.
She knew what she wanted to say,
but she not to say it.
Okay, now take a look at that and tell me what is happening in this picture.
Okay, reading.
And try. If you can, try to talk in sentences.
Okay.
Like we've been working on.
Okay. I want, no. Yes.
Yeah. It's okay just to use single words if
Okay.
you need to as well.
Carolyn, no. Reading, reading, pouring, risk, pouring iced tea, bottle. Yes. Yes.
We visited the Bomba Shack.
Wild parties happen there.
Next, we visited the island of Dominica.
We saw waterfalls and lots of flowers.
We saw many different sights there.
And tasted a drink called sorrel. Yummy.
Then we were off to visit Barbados.
It was really hot, nice weather.
And as the more we worked on it, the better she got. She got to the point where she was repeating lines freely from it.
So then Carolyn and Dennis read their story for their aphasia group.
I said, I was very excited, and I think Carolyn is too. And I said, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And then Carolyn and I started the story. And like I said, she did an excellent job, probably the best reading that she did in all the times that we'd sat down. And I was really considering leading up to that. I was a little nervous, and I was reading the story, and I would look up, and I could see the look on the clinicians' faces that were in there. And their eyes were kind of big because they've been working with Carolyn in group, but actually to hear her read a story. And some of the other, the patients in the aphasia, they were all ears. I mean, they were kind of impressed too because they've known Carolyn. They've been around Carolyn for a year, year and a half, 2 years. They'd never heard her do this before. A lot of the patients were asking, well, how did you start this? Where can we do it? They were interested in getting or having the same thing applied to their life.
Go back to my slide here. Okay, so there were pre and post tests, and we did find a large increase in the communicative effectiveness index completed by Carolyn's husband, and an increase in Carolyn's assessment for living with aphasia that was the largest in the participation domain. We also found small increases in the WAB-R and reading comprehension battery for aphasia. The biggest gain, though, was the enjoyment that Carolyn and Dennis got from reading their story together, and especially sharing it with their aphasia group. So now we've been asked by a third couple to work with them. And so we are working with them to develop their story. And so please contact myself or Harold, especially for more information. That's Rosie's husband. He would love to get an email from any of you. So happy to answer any questions.
Hi, Erin. Terrific. Thank you so much. We have a question just to clarify. Was it the same story that they told each time?
Yes. So well, Harold and Rosie have developed many stories together because they kind of started this. Carolyn and Dennis, we helped them develop the story about their cruise, and they're interested in developing more stories, but they've only done one so far.
Terrific. Lots of positive comments coming through. If anyone has a question, we have time for one. A lot of comments about the parallels to work in narrative and bibliotherapy, Katie Strong and Barbara Shadden's work. Yeah.
As I've been working on this, I'm realizing that this is script training for two.
Terrific. Yeah, that's a great connection to make. Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. And I know there'll be follow-up questions in the chat for you to check on as well. So we are going to move on to our final brag and steal, which is my dear friend Karen Kais. Take it away, photo crossing. Post crossing, what did I say? Photo crossing.
Last but not least, correct? I want to introduce myself. My name is Karen Kais, and Tom Sather is with us as well. He's going to be presenting a little bit later. We are both from the Chippewa Valley Aphasia Network in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And on our slide, you can see some other of our colleagues that are participating in the aphasia group as well. What we'd like to share with you today is about a website called Post Crossing and how we use it in our aphasia group to facilitate life participation over multiple activities. Post Crossing was developed by Paulo Magalhães from Portugal with a goal to allow anyone to send and receive postcards from all over the world. And so what we did with this website was you go on and you develop a profile where you describe yourself or your group. And what we did for our profile is we decided to define aphasia and then ask people, the senders of the postcards, to answer questions about aphasia because our group members were really interested and thought it was important for the concept of aphasia awareness. So our questions were, did you know about aphasia before you read our profile? Do you know anyone who has aphasia? After we filled out our profile, then we were able to get 5 randomized addresses to send to people throughout the world. So how we did this in our group is we met within the community, usually at a coffee shop, a park, and right now it's currently on Zoom. Members will pick their own postcards and the addresses based on their interests. With the addresses, you can also read the people's profiles so you know a little bit about them, which is nice. When we were writing on the postcards, a lot of members use dictation on their phone and then they copy onto the postcard. Some of the members use scripts and others can generate their own sentences without difficulty. What this does is it elicits social interactions. We had lots of conversations about past experiences, traveling. Of course, writing practice, connections with community and the world, and most important, our group was spreading awareness about aphasia. Since November of 2015, we have sent a total of 311 postcards into the world, and we've received the same amount as well. When looking back at the postcards that we've received that answered our profile questions, approximately 44% of the people had not heard of aphasia. And an interesting point too is that postcards came from 38 different countries. Since we've been doing this for a while, we decided to add another activity with post-crossing. And so we decided to design our own postcards to send out into the world. On the slide, you can see 2 examples of some of our members' postcards. We did map the components of the activity onto the AFROM framework from Ora Kagan and colleagues at the Aphasia Institute. Members took photos, especially for the postcards, or they used photos that they had taken in the past. We used a collage app, and the members took charge of what each postcard should look like. So they had to persuade others if they didn't like something or determine what exactly should be included on the postcard, decide fonts, colors, backgrounds, etc. There were lots of conversations about the photos, provided members an avenue to show their artistic talents as well, which is good for the identity component. The next activity that we decided to expand with is postcard reading, and Tom is going to take it from here.
So as Karen mentioned, we received several hundred postcards from across the world. So we decided over the past several months to embed some oral reading. So we had our group members over the past several months. We had a couple students scan in all the postcards that we have digitally. We have them on our Google Drive, and we had the aphasia group members practice reading the postcards, and then we recorded the postcard reading, and we're mapping those onto a Google map where we can have the postcard, and we'll show you that in a second, as well as the audio of the person with aphasia reading. So we have permission to share these. This is an example, we think, of embedding the language aspect as well as the aspects certainly of participation, identity as well. So we'll show you just a recording on this next page, and this is, you're going to hear 2 different group members read. One is our younger aphasia group member who read the postcard that we received. We can't show the actual text of what the person wrote that we received because of post-crossing rules, but you'll hear the person read it and give some idea about some of the challenges that are still out there for aphasia awareness. The second you'll hear is a man with very advanced PPA who has very much difficulty expressing anything orally, but with MIT, the community clinician worked with him, and they were able together to participate in the reading. So I'll play this. So let's take a trip from virtual summit host city, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, all the way to Switzerland.
Hello, I have never heard of aphasia before. At first, I thought it was because it's an English term, but it's in the same as my native German. The husband of a friend suffered a stroke and lost his ability to speak.
Now let's head up the road just a bit to Frankfurt, Germany.
Okay, here we go. Greetings from Germany. Do it again, Mike.
Yeah, but like that. Yeah, but like that. Greetings from Germany.
So what you hear there is Wayne at the end saying greetings from Germany. One thing to point out is when Chris was reading earlier, and one of the things we heard, as Karen mentioned, in terms of the awareness of aphasia, several people wrote back and said, yeah, I've never heard of aphasia. However, my neighbor has trouble talking because of a stroke, or I know somebody who has aphasia or who has trouble talking, but they didn't have the word that went with it. And that crossed all kinds of language boundaries as well. So I'll turn it back over to Karen, and I'll put the link we've mapped on our postcards onto a Google map that you can take a look at and click on, so you can see the actual postcards that we received as well. So let's.
Yeah, so summing up, post-crossing, I have the website right there for you if you want to go to it and look it up. It's ever evolving for us, so it has lots of opportunities to continue, change, and customize to your own needs. We've even done it during Zoom, you know, for COVID-19, we can't get together. I had to send the postcards to the people, but that was the only big change. It does provide authentic opportunities for multiple components of living with aphasia. And most important for our group members was increased aphasia awareness. I did write up a while back a little bit about post-crossing, and it's in the Aphasia Access shared therapy tool website. So you can find that there. And we would also love to hear from you if you've tried it before. I did see in the chat that there have been people who've done it. I know Fabi Hirsch has done it. And I'd love to hear more about if there's anything different you guys are doing, or just any wonderful things that have happened with it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Terrific. We have a comment from, or a question and a comment from Ellen. Meaningful, empowering activity, fantastic idea. Did any of the members start to send cards on their own outside of group?
Not that I know of through post-crossing. After we did start it, we have some members that go down to Arizona for the winters, and they started writing to us, to our group during their winter vacations down there, but not through post-crossing that I know of.
Gotcha. Did all the responses always come through in English?
I would say the majority do. We may have a few that came in Russian, but I think one of the rules on there is to try to write in English, since it's kind of the language that everybody knows.
One last question. Is there an opportunity for interprofessional practice, working with OTs, for example, to work on handwriting and so forth?
I definitely think that could be something that we could move into for handwriting. We don't focus a lot on specific with writing on ours, but definitely something we could expand into. Great idea.
Thank you so much for closing out the Bragg and Steele's